Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to set up an Exasol CloudWatch integration. So in this tutorial I will show you how to create an AWS CloudWatch dashboard like this one. It basically shows you some of the metrics from the Exa statistics table from within your database in AWS CloudWatch. So for example, you can see here the CPU utilization of your database, the temporary DB RAM and the disk I/O and so on. So using this metrics you can monitor your Exasol database. Okay, so let's see how it works. So basically, the Exasol CloudWatch adapter is an AWS Lambda function that is invoked every minute. Each minute, it fetches the statistic data from your Exa statistics table inside of your Exasol database using the SQL interface of your Exasol database. Then it reports these metrics to AWS CloudWatch from where you can watch them. So, the data is reported each minute and it is stored in AWS CloudWatch. In order to access your Exasol database, the Lambda function needs credentials for your Exasol database. We are using the AWS Secrets Manager for safely storing these secrets. So the Lambda function is going to connect to the Secrets Manager, fetches the secrets from there and uses them to connect to the Exasol database. Typically an Exasol database on AWS runs in a virtual private cloud setup and in a security group. Basically, this setup acts as a firewall and filters the incoming and outgoing traffic. By that, our CloudWatch adapter might not be able to access the Exasol database. To solve this, we simply move the CloudWatch adapter inside of the security group of your Exasol database. But by that, it might not be able to access the external AWS services anymore. To solve this issue, we create custom endpoints inside of your VPC for these services. So using this setup, then your CloudWatch adapter can connect to your Exasol database and to the CloudWatch and Secrets Manager service. Okay, so let's get started with our hands-on guide and create a CloudWatch adapter. Okay, so let's start and create the Exasol CloudWatch adapter. For that, we follow the instructions from the CloudWatch adapter GitHub repository, so you can just copy and paste the commands and don't have to type them. So the setup starts with creating an Exasol user, which will be used for accessing the Exa statistics. We will create a dedicated user for that purpose so that it only has the required permissions, and you can see in the logging that this user is the one used by the CloudWatch adapter. So we are going to create a user named CloudWatch adapter with a password. I already have an open connection to my Exasol database running on AWS here. And I'm going to create the user CloudWatch adapter, and I replace this password here by a randomly generated one. So I execute this query and I'm going to grant this user the create session privileges which is required so that the CloudWatch adapter can connect to the Exasol database. Okay, that's it. So we created this user. I'm going back. And now we have to store these credentials in the AWS Secrets Manager. So I go to the AWS Management Console and search for Secrets Manager and create a new secret. Then I select other type of secret and I'm going to add here the key value pairs. So the keys are here in the manual. The first one is host. Then we need port, then username, and password. Okay, so the host we will look up from our EC2 instance. So I search here for EC2 and I open this in a second tab, check my instances here, and I have two Exasol database nodes here. The one is the management node and the other one is the data node, and I want to get the IP address of the data node so that I can connect to it. And I take this private IP address here and not the public IP address here. So I go back here and paste here the address. We could also leave away this row here because we are using the default port, but I'm going to set it anyway. Then the username, we created this one here, it's the CloudWatch adapter. And I generated here a password. I'm going to insert here. Okay, so I go on next. I give the secret a name. Okay, for now I will disable the automatic rotation. I go here and store the secret. Okay, so now we stored the secret and we received an ARN for it, and we will use this ARN later to pass it as a configuration. Next, we have to set up our VPC. Remember, we need these two endpoints for the secrets manager and for the CloudWatch service, because otherwise they are not reachable from within the VPC. So we open the AWS VPC console here. And here I can check my VPCs. And I see this one is the one my Exasol runs in. And I'm now adding an endpoint to this VPC. So I go here and create endpoint and search here for monitoring. Pick this endpoint here. Then I select my VPC, this one. The subnet is correct. This one is important. We have to enable DNS for this endpoint. If it does not work, make sure that in your VPC also these enable DNS host names and enable DNS support is enabled. Okay, then I have to pick the security group, and I need this one because my Exasol database runs in this security group. Okay, the rest I'll leave as it is and go and create endpoint. And I'm going to create another endpoint. So this endpoint was for monitoring. Now we are going to create the one for the secrets manager. So I go again here. Pick the secrets manager and select the VPC. Security group, and that's it. So you can see now the status of these endpoints is still pending. This will take some minutes until they are created, but I'm going to proceed right now and hope that they will be created when we are finished with setting up the Lambda function. Okay, so now let's create the Lambda function. For that we go to the Lambda console. Here I click on create function and browse the serverless application repository. And since the adapter is not yet published, I go here on private applications, but when you watch the video, the application will be published, so you can just go here on public applications and search for the Exasol CloudWatch adapter. Okay, so here's the setup for the CloudWatch adapter, and we have here some properties we have to fill out for this adapter. Yeah, and the first one is the extra connection secret ARN, and this is the ARN of our secret we created previously. So I just copy the ARN from here, go back to the Lambda and paste it here. Then we set a deployment name. This name will be used as a dimension for our metrics, so we can identify them And if you are monitoring multiple Exasol installations, you know which metrics belongs to which installation. So I will name this one Jacob's Exasol DB. I'll just keep all metrics here, and I have to fill out the security group and the subnet of my Exasol database. So I will just pick this one here. That's my Exasol database, the data node. We have the subnet ID here, so this is the ID of the subnet. I copy it here. Oh no, this was the subnet ID, and the security group we find here under security, and here's the security group ID. Okay, so I check again if the endpoints are done. Okay, they are available, and then I can click here on deploy. Okay, now AWS is going to create all the resources for this Lambda and so on, and this may take 2 or 3 minutes, and yeah, you can watch this error here, or under deployments you see here that the creation is in progress, and when it's finished we can check if it works. So now for me the installation is complete, and let's take a look if everything works fine. So we can take here a look on the monitoring, and we see we had no errors, and yeah, so that looks fine. But let's take a deeper look. So I'm going back to the overview page and go here to the actual Lambda function. Now I go here on monitoring, and we see again some metrics here. And also here, all invocations were successful, but now let's take a look into the logs. Okay, and here we can see the Lambda is started. It logs that it is writing 52 points, and then it is ended. So if something would go wrong, you would find the error message here, for example, that it could not connect to Exasol because the password was wrong or so on. So this is the tool for debugging errors or issues when there's no points reported and so on. Okay, now we can check that there's the points really reported to CloudWatch. So yeah, we are already in CloudWatch. So let's use the metrics here. Then we go on Exasol, cluster name and deployment, and then we see we have here Jacob's Exasol DB, and we can take a look on, let's take something a bit more exciting. Maybe we find the CPU. So here's the CPU monitoring of my database. Okay, and we see in the past where it was logged, it was very idle for the database because I just spin it up for this tutorial, so it was not very busy. Okay, now you could start and create a dashboard from all this data, but that's a lot of work, and we prepared a dashboard for you, and you can simply install it. So we go back here to the tutorial and now create the dashboard. So I go to the Exasol CloudWatch examples repository and open this one here. And here I go to the releases and pick here the CloudFormation template. So I go here on save. And then I go to the AWS Management Console and pick here the CloudFormation. And here I go on create stack, the one with new resources, and then I upload here a template, one from my disk. Here I pick the file. Okay, then I go next. Here I enter just the name for this deployment stack so that we can identify it and delete it afterwards. Okay, and then I paste here the deployment name. This is the name of my Exasol installation I defined during the setup of the Lambda function, and it is written to the metrics as a dimension, and we have to define it here so that the CloudWatch dashboard only picks these metrics. Okay, so I go on next. We could define here some text, but I will leave this right now just open. Then again next, and we create the stack. So let's wait some seconds until the dashboard is created. Okay, so now everything is created, and so let's go to the CloudWatch. Okay, and here you can see we have one dashboard. So this is a dashboard with different metrics. For example, we have here the CPU and the load. You can watch these metrics here. You can change the time frame that you want to monitor. And you can also modify this dashboard or add new widgets. So let's say you don't want to see some of this one, you can just go here and delete it, or you can give it a new name, and you can change it however. You can change it just like you want, but it's not the best way to change it in the GUI here. So the examples repository here contains basically CDK code. So this is an AWS tool where you can define AWS resources using code in different programming languages, including Java. And this dashboard was defined in Java here. And you can just check out this repository and build your own dashboards on top of it. So you can just change it here. And that gives you the advantage that you can, for example, you can review your dashboards using GitHub or other tools for code review, or you can store them and deploy them to different tenants of the AWS system and so on. So it's probably a better idea to do it here. However, you can also do it here in the AWS console. And something else that was created by the CloudFormation template is an alarm. So we have here an alarm that checks that the temporary DB RAM is not higher than 70% of the available RAM. So yeah, we can go in here and take a look on it. And currently the ratio is quite good because the database is absolutely not busy. And if this should go over this limit here, this alarm will go red. And you could configure here some actions that will be invoked then. This is just an example alarm. You can also change this or do something else. So we just wanted to give you a first impression what you can do with CloudWatch using this dashboard, and probably an easy starting point. But of course, there's a lot that you can do with it. Okay, so that's the end of our CloudWatch tutorial, and thanks for watching.